Okay, so the HaChaim HaKadosh, his favorite mitzvah was Pidyon Shvuim. And he heard about this family that was in this dungeon and they couldn't pay the rent, and they were exacting a lot of they wanted a lot of ransom money, and a ridiculous amount of ransom money. But he heard this and he went running to collect the money, and he says, I have no time to waste. I'm going to go to the richest person in the town. And he goes to the richest person in town, let's call him Mordechai. And a problem with going to Mordechai is that he's a no goodnik. He couldn't care less about Torah, mitzvahs, tzaddikim, nothing. Most of the time he spends playing cards in a tavern, and everybody knows not to go to ask him for tzedakah. But HaChaim HaKadosh says, I don't care. I'm gonna take my chance, because he has enough to give me in one shot that I won't have to go collecting any other place. So he goes, he finds out he's in the tavern. HaChaim HaKadosh shows up in the bar in the front of the door, and everybody sees him there, and everybody, like the people who had any bit of Yirah Shamayim, wanted to hide themselves. They didn't want HaChaim HaKadosh to see them there. They didn't know what to do with themselves. And like, what's that tzaddik and the tzaddik doing there? And he goes and he sees Mordechai, and he goes and stands on the table. And Mordechai, he has such chutzpah and no derech eretz, he doesn't even raise his eyes. He knows HaChaim is standing there, and he doesn't pay him any attention. HaChaim is waiting to be acknowledged. HaChaim has derech eretz. Finally, Mordechai says, "You want something?" And HaChaim says, "Yeah, there's this family, Pidyon Shvuim, big mitzvah, a lot of money." And he said, and now at this point, Mordechai laughs his head off. He says, You want me? Like, you're asking tzedakah for me? Like, it's tickled him, because everybody knew not to go for him. And this holy rabbi is coming to such a place asking for tzedakah. It somehow struck a funny chord in him, and he says, okay, I'll tell you what, Rabbi. I'll give you the whole money. You won't have to go anywhere else, under one condition. You go on all fours. We bring a cart. We harness a cart to your back. I'm going to sit in the cart, and you go down Main Street singing Kol Nidre, and you get to the end of the market. You do that, I'll give you all the money. Or HaChaim HaKadosh says, that's all I have to do. That's it. Of course. So he goes on all four. They harness a cart to him. Mordechai sitting on the cart, and the most ridiculous scene that the holiest person in like the door of the generation, or HaChaim HaKadosh was, was living in the same generation as the Baal Shem Tov. What the Baal Shem Tov was in Europe, the HaChaim HaKadosh was in Morocco for the Sephardi world, and they would meet. Their neshamas would meet in Shemaim and Heichalot. Like, they would have the souls ascends, and they would communicate. They knew about each other, the Baal Shem Tov and the HaChaim HaKadosh, before WhatsApps. And so now HaChaim HaKadosh is doing this, and he gets to the end, and people are like dumbfounded. Their jaws drop. What is this? They couldn't even stop, because it was so like, it was so startling. Like, what is going on? HaChaim is on all fours, singing Kol Nidre, pulling Mordechai, the most disgusting person in the town, singing Kol Nidre. What's going on here? And at the end, HaChaim HaKadosh gets up. He did his deal, and now it was time for Mordechai to pay up. And Mordechai says, you're a good guy. And he gives him the whole money. But now, as soon as he gave him the money, HaChaim runs to do this mitzvah. But Mordechai, for the first time in his life, he did a mitzvah. So he had some sort of ilui neshama. He felt his neshama for the first time in his life. And together with that mitzvah gorelet mitzvah, he had pangs of regret of how he treated HaChaim HaKadosh. He understood that, like, the horrible situation he put himself in. He runs and he grabs onto HaChaim's legs, and he says, please forgive me. He says, nonsense. We had a deal. I kept my end of the deal. You kept your end of the deal. You gave me the money. Shkoyach, let me run and do my mitzvah. But he's not letting him go. And he's crying. He says, you don't understand. You got to forgive me. He says, there's nothing to forgive, because we had a deal. And he says, finally, he wants to go, and he's not letting him go. So HaChaim says, okay, I'll tell you what. I can't forgive you because there's nothing to forgive, because we had a deal. Fair deal. But if you want a bracha, ask for a bracha. I'll give you a bracha. What bracha do you want? He says, bracha. Oh, bracha. Okay, I want to be able to taste Shabbos the way you experience it. You want to experience Shabbos the way I experience it? Okay, I'm giving you a bracha that you should experience Shabbos the way I experience it. And he goes. Now, this is a Monday. Now, as soon as HaChaim leaves and Mordechai is left now alone, and he's all of a sudden, the Chavot Shabbat Kodesh, the Kavod Shabbos Kodesh. This is Morocco, so it's the Chavot Shabbat Kodesh, the Chavot Shabbat Kodesh, the Chavot Shabbat Kodesh. And he goes to his wife for the first time. He says, Rachel, make sure that you have a white tablecloth, and you're going to light the candles, and you're going to cook the most delicious foods, and make sure we have guests. She doesn't know what happened to her husband. Is this the same Mordechai that left for the tavern? This bum, but she likes it, so she goes along with it. And the whole week, she goes to the market. He buys. He finds something better. He gives it away to tzedakah. He buys something else. Finally, Erev Shabbos comes. She's about to light the candles for the first time. They're all dressed in Shabbos clothes. He's going to go to Beit Knesset the first time. She says the bracha on the Shabbat candles, and he faints, and he's on the floor. He's like dead to the world but alive. She checks that he's alive. He's breathing. There's vapors coming out from his nose, but she can't get him to wake up. He's like fainted. He's unconscious. She throws water at him. She kicks him. She screams in his ear. Nothing doing. The whole Shabbos he's like that. As soon as 3 stars in the sky come up in Shemaim, Shabbos is over. Mordechai wakes up. Like, Shabbos is coming. Shabbat is coming. Shabbat is coming. And the whole scene happens again for the whole week. The whole week is just he's mishuga over Shabbat. And he drives his wife crazy. And again, they're standing by the lights of the Shabbat candles, Erev Shabbat. And of course, she says the bracha, and what happens to Mordechai? He's unconscious. Okay. This happens 3 weeks in a row. At this point, Rachel, his wife, can't take it anymore. She figures this has something to do with the bracha that he got from this rabbi. So she goes to HaChaim and says, we can't live like this. You got to take your bracha back. He says, what happened? She tells him exactly what happened. And he says, I can't take a bracha back, because it's like a bracha is like a netza. It's like a request from Shammai. But the bracha really is from Shammai. What he got was from Shammai. I didn't give it to him. It's like a suggestion. I can't take back what Shammai gave him. And she starts crying to him, and it's not a life, and it's like, I can't live like this, and what's he doing? And it's just like the whole week, and then he sleeps the whole Shabbos, and he's unconscious. Please, you have to help us. And she says, okay, I'll tell you what's going to save him. I have an idea. You tell your Mordechai to come to my yeshiva. What's happening to him? He asked for an experience of Shabbos the way I handle it, the way I experience it. But he had no preparation. All that light came at him and short-circuited him. He did not do any work. This happened like the Geula hit him, but and he couldn't handle it. And so send him to my yeshiva. And le'at he's going to learn. And you'll see that he'll be able to stay awake and conscious a little every Shabbos until he'll be able to actually keep Shabbos. And he did, and he was one of his closest disciples, they say about this Mordechai. And eventually he's really flying high with his Shabbos, and he's not fainting, and he's not unconscious. And they say that HaChaim, of course, HaKadosh, he's buried here in where's he buried? In Har HaZeitim. And there's an unmarked grave next to him. And they say that the unmarked grave is this Mordechai, that he had the zchut of actually also being buried next to him. That's how the story I heard from Reb Shalom. Awesome story. But this is all to answer Shavachaya's question about when it's going to happen. It's still going to be like, we're going to go through all this suffering, then all of a sudden we're going to wake up. No, the suffering is the preparing of our handling of the light. Le'at, it's the refining of our pnimi, of our chitzoni, to allow more of the light of the pnimi to shine through. So it's when it happens, it's like something familiar. It's something delicious and yummy that we can handle. It's not going to be. So all the suffering is it's like tenderizing meat, that be able to handle it. Right? You have rough meat, you put tenderize on it, or you bang the schnitzel with the hammer to make it flat and yummy schnitzel. That's what we're going through. It's preparing us for that as we're being banged away at and crushed, the pnimi aspect of ourselves is coming through. We are necessarily more refined people. It's very hard to be egotistical and bal gaiva when we're put through the ropes of this world. You start off as arrogant and cocky, and you'll be knocked down, and you won't be as cocky as you were before, right? That's what it is. Somebody sent something in the chat. Let me see. What's your site this week? Yeah, Or HaChaim's your site this week.
Oh.
So it was Mina Shemaim that I had to tell the story. What was I thinking? Holding back on that story, seriously. Okay, okay. Baruch Hashem, thank God. So that's it. So
it's right now. It's today. It was last
today.
night.
It's
today. So he came to you and he told you, tell that story. It's my yurtzeit.
Oh, how wonderful.
Oh my gosh, I love Hashem so much.
My sons come to learn with us every Sunday.